Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again. In today's video, an HOA claimed ownership of a vacant lot I inherited and allowed the entire neighborhood to park on my private property. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the story. Before I found this page, I never had a name for the group that kind of controlled my neighborhood. In America they are called HOAs, but down here in South America it gets a little more complicated. I want to call them an HOA because from what I understand the role is similar, just without power being given to them by anybody. So similar to our neighbors up north, we can have problems with them taking more than they should, and that happened to me last year. I don't live in a rich neighborhood and sometimes it can be easier to let land sit for a while. When my brother died and gave his property to me, I did not know what to do with it at first. He did not even have a house there or anything, it was just a spare lot of land. I did the only thing I could think of and fenced it off until I could come up with something. Maybe hope for prices to go up so I could make something off of it. I wanted more than anything to discuss it with my family first, so I went to visit my parents for a couple of weeks. Figure out what we were doing for the funeral and what I could do with the land. My mom did not want me keeping the lot, she did not even want me to keep my own property because of how bad the area was. The only positive thing I could say was that the HOA who ran things were not a gang. I cannot say that for everywhere around here, they were bad people though and always wanted to try and get more money from others. One time they even tried to charge people for having company or parties, a noise fee they called it. If that doesn't show you how bad these people are, then what I will tell you next will change your mind really fast. When I got back home and went to check on the lot, I saw that it had been transformed. There was never grass or anything, but when I left it, it was a land made of dirt fenced in. Now there was gravel, small gravel like the kind you can drive onto. The fence was gone and replaced with a much fancier gate. At the gate, a man who was taking money to let people come in and park. They saw the empty land and knew that the owner had just died. Their first thought was to turn around and make money off of it. I went to the guy standing at the gate. Me, what's going on here? This is my land. Man, no way. The HOA owns this lot and if you want to park here, you have to pay. Otherwise you can turn around and leave. Me, I'm not going anywhere. You cannot keep me out of my own damn property. I want every single car here gone or I swear I will get them out myself. Man, you come onto this parking lot and I promise that you're not gonna like what happens next. I don't like to back down, but when a guy is twice your size and looks like he could kill you with one punch, well, let's just say I walked away to try and find something else that I could do. Going to the HOA felt like a waste of my time because they would not help me, they stole it from me, but I figured that I better go and talk to them so I can say that I did. The last thing I need is them getting away with it because I never went to complain and claimed the land. I told them about the land and they just told me it did not matter if my brother left it to me. They had a right to it over me because it was an empty lot and the HOA can take over things once the owner dies. Well, there's no law that says they can do that and I knew for a fact that my brother was not an HOA member because I was not either. We hated these guys honestly, and the fact that we didn't get harassed for not joining too much was a blessing. Now they wanted to screw me over though and take land that I didn't even want in the first place. It did not matter since I was never gonna let somebody waltz in and take what belongs to me. I did not let it happen when I was a kid playing with toys and I was not about to let it happen again. I knew that I didn't have the money and the HOA knew that I didn't have money. What I did have though was profits from the sale of my brother's actual house. Not much, but enough to hire a lawyer and get him to take on my case. Despite being young, he did have a will and all the correct paperwork in place to leave me the property. I filed a lawsuit against the HOA and even my lawyer told me that if I did this, it could make my life living in that neighborhood very hard. I moved forward anyway, and after a long time I finally got a chance to show a court that I owned the property. The HOA guys had a really expensive lawyer who tried to claim that by living in the neighborhood my brother forfeited his rights to give away the land. That it instantly went to the HOA instead. My lawyer chimed in that there was no law stating they got the land if my brother died. Not unless they had a contract of him agreeing to that. The kind of thing they probably put in small print for people that joined the HOA and then gave them the money. However, no contract for my brother could be found since, like I said, we never joined this HOA. They were ordered to remove the gate and parking lot from my land, and then they were told that they had to give me all the money they made from people parking, and if they didn't give the right amount, the government would come in and freeze their bank accounts until they got to the bottom of the correct amount of money. It turns out they had made a ton and wanted to just walk away and pocket all of it. I had that money now and the lot I could do anything I wanted with. I did the thing that would make myself and my mom the happiest. I sold both the lot and my own property, and I used the money to move to a different neighborhood. One that was slightly nicer and did not have an HOA trying to control things. Plus, it was closer to my parents, which I knew she appreciated also. The funny thing was that I think now the empty lot is being used as rental property, meaning somebody is making a ton of money, and I doubt the HOA is seeing a penny of it. Mainly because it seemed that after the lawsuit, many of the members scattered like the scared cockroaches they are. Now nobody is really running that neighborhood either, but I still think it was for the best that I left. And yeah, right, stars, if you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like the video and maybe even leave a comment, because that would help me tremendously. Thank you so much for your help. The next pro-revenge story started like this. Let's start this story by saying, this happened 12 years ago, I am now happily married with 3 children and regret absolutely nothing. I was with my new ex for 3 years, I had noticed that she was being extremely controlling, I was expected to give every little detail of my day and tell her my schedule in advance. And if I deviated from that, she would be very upset. She chalked it up to just bad feelings she was having and shrugged it off as her paranoia for past relationships of infidelity. I had never once cheated or strayed, and I never gave her a reason to act like this. It felt unbecoming of my fiancé to act in such a way. Now this is where it gets juicy. After she had asked for my schedule to make plans, as mine tend to be more hectic than hers, I noticed she was texting someone. In my line of work, if I put in more than 40 hours, I have the ability to take time off at will as long as the work is completed at a later date. I was very good friends with a brother and still am. We laugh about this to this day, and he actively reminds her of it. I messaged him stating that I wanted to do something special for her a little bit earlier than our anniversary to make sure it was a special surprise. They both worked in the same fabrication facility, he was a fabricator and she a shipping manager. He was kind enough to let me know her schedule, and that's where the discrepancy falls into place. Without my knowledge, she was foregoing overtime and she worked 12-hour shifts Monday through Friday, with the exception of Wednesday, when she would only work half a day. She had been taking Wednesdays off right around the time that she started getting extremely controlling. Lucky for me, I had stacked several days of leisure time up, so taking a Wednesday off for me was not an issue. A few days go by and Wednesday is here, I put on my work gear and leave for work. I was expecting her to leave, as our apartment complex had 2 exits on the same road I could see directly across from a shopping center, so I parked my car near the back and waited. After about an hour, I noticed a very specific red Mustang with a specific decal on the back window. So this was her cousin by marriage. I had also done my due diligence to take an old laptop, which we kept on our desk in an office area, with a full view of the living room, bedroom door and bathroom plus the kitchen. I had set it up for remote access and had it alert me when the webcam noticed movement. So, giving her the benefit of the doubt, I thought he maybe be dropping something off or coming over to assist her with something, as her family sometimes does. Sure enough though, a message came through, so I remoted into my laptop. He walks through the door without skipping a beat, she unbuttons his shirt and begins kissing him. I created a URL link for the live stream. And as she was preoccupied, we had a family group text and a friend group text. They were both part of it, but at the current time, they were currently indisposed and didn't look at their phones. They did not even wait, they could have gone to the bedroom, but no, they decided to get freaky deaky right there on the couch. I sent the link off to the friend group chat and the family group chat, and within minutes I'm getting calls non-stop from friends and family alike. There was no turning back. She was getting blown up, but she was ignoring her phone. Not until the 4th or 5th call came through did they decide to take a break. For context, the state I live in allows recording of personal property regardless of occupancy. I was the only one on the lease and she was not allowed to be on the lease because of poor credit. The call she had picked up was from her cousin's mom, who she was banging. She answers the phone on speaker, and I kid you not, the first words out of his mom's mouth were, "Stop effing my son." They both became rigid and she began to stutter over her words, saying, "What are you talking about?" etc. The mother then divulged that there was a live feed of them sent out by me to her family. She grabbed every pillow off the couch and covered herself up. The cousin staggered off, trying to put on his pants and shoes just to trip himself up and bang his head off of my coffee table. Leaving it with a DeVoe, by this time I had made my way to the front of the apartment complex. I was there to greet the adulterer as he came out of the front exit. He froze and began to cry, apologizing profusely. I'm not gonna lie, what happened afterwards was not my best moment, and I nearly got into legal trouble if it weren't for the fact that he was trespassing on private property. Let's just say I had a cast for 6 weeks and he was not in any family photos for months. So I went up to the apartment where she was now fully closed and crying inconsolably. I asked her what that snot was on her face. Then I told her not to answer because it didn't matter anyway. I gave her 1 hour to remove all her belongings, as again everything in the apartment was mine except for clothes, some makeup and a few kitchen utensils. Her mom would not let her move in as she was just filled with embarrassment. Same for her brothers, and the cousin's mom kicked her son out. Rumors spread around our town very quickly, and for a lack of better words, she was very untouchable. And now we will move on to the Am I the A-hole story, complete with an update. My parents have always favored my younger brother. I was by no means unloved, but it was blatantly obvious who they cared about more. I worked a part-time job to get my first car, but my brother got one as a present. It was not new, but it was much newer than my car. It was the same with just about anything else, like clothes, video games and cell phones. And well, I'm 18 and I'm taking a gap year before community college to work a full-time job and save money for tuition. But a while back I heard my parents talking about how much they were going to pay for my brother's tuition. I secretly recorded the conversation from around the corner and then came out asking my parents why they were gonna pay for my brother's college but not mine. They didn't notice my phone was recording and just said that my brother needs more help. I asked how so, when I was not getting any sort of scholarship and he likely wouldn't either. Then I asked a few more questions about why things have always been this way. They got mad and my dad told me that perhaps it's time I moved out because they are sick of keeping a roof over my head. I pointed out I pay rent, but they didn't care. I left the room and in a fit of rage uploaded the video to 2 different social medias I have and ranted about how this is how my parents have always been to me. Well, a few hours later, my parents were pounding at my door. My dad was screaming at me how I made them look bad, and we fought some more and they left the room fuming. My grandparents contacted me later and said they were appalled and then came to visit with a lot of the family the next day. There was a huge family intervention and my parents were made to sit on the couch and look at their feet while being told off. It was then that I found out that they'd been receiving money for years from my grandparents to help with family expenses. My brother looked like he didn't know what to do, so he sided with the rest of the family and said he has noticed how I'm treated as well. My parents gave me a huge apology that sounded forced. My grandparents have offered that I come live with them soon and will cut off the monthly payments to my parents. My father told me I should have never told the rest of the family, and now they won't talk to me and my mom has been crying for days. So I'm starting to wonder if I went too far. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for exposing my parents' favoritism? And yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know what you think about this story in the comments. Was OP the a-hole here for exposing his parents? Or not? Let me know. Comment number 1, not the a-hole, don't feel bad for those crocodile tears. They are not sad that they treated you poorly and favored one kid over the other. They are sad that they are being cut off from further financial help and that their crappy actions were exposed. They made their bed and now they can lay in it. Go live with your grandparents, save your money and get your education. I'm glad you have family members that will care for you for the way your parents should have been caring for you, but chose not to. Comment number 2, in my opinion, not the a-hole, and hearing that your grandparents sent your parents money makes it even more so. They deserve to know that their money was not being used properly and for what they intended/how they intended. You are not the a-hole because your parents are upset that they have to face consequences. Update, I decided to go ahead and call my grandparents to accept their offer to move in. During the phone call, I asked them why there was monthly payments being sent to my parents. Turns out my parents were living beyond their means for a while because my mom quit her job to be a full-time stay-at-home mom. My grandparents decided to help out by sending them money monthly to help with my parents' mortgage and also to set aside some of that money for college savings for both my brother and I that was to be split evenly. Turns out my parents only planned to put that savings towards my brother's college, and that's also how they bought his car as well. So from now on my parents are on their own financially. Likely my mom will have to go back to work to help my dad keep up the mortgage. I confronted my parents and asked why they've always treated my brother as the favorite, and then asked if there was something I needed to know. It turns out there was nothing, literally nothing. I'm not an affair baby, not even an unplanned pregnancy, they just liked my brother more. I was mad as hell and we argued a lot before I left the room because I had enough. My grandparents showed up on Saturday with a moving truck, and my parents were floored when we started bringing in boxes to pack. My father got in our way, and I reminded him how he said that I should move out, so I am. My mother cried some more and said that my father was just angry in the moment when he said, and they had been counting on my rent money to help with my brother's college fund. I asked if that meant that he would never have had to pay rent like I did when he turns 18. My father then said that since I was taking a gap year to work, then my rent money could have helped my brother. Which means they never intended for him to get a job while going to college. My grandpa was enraged and confronted my father and saying that he raised him better than this. He chewed him out, saying he's never been more disappointed in him and they will no longer receiving any more financial support. Then said that he would disown them both if they ever tried to retaliate against me for exposing them. My father backed down and neither he nor my mom said another word to me. I had a bit of an awkward conversation with my brother as we said our goodbyes to each other, and that was it. I just got in my car, waved and drove off. I'm now fully moved into my new room at my grandparents' house. It's a little smaller but nice and my grandparents are very welcoming. I'm gonna keep working hard to move forward from here and I appreciate everyone's support. And the next one is titled, I, 32 female, work overnights. My father-in-law, 60s male, keeps bad-mouthing me and telling everyone I am lazy. I'm afraid people are starting to buy it. I work overnights in a very demanding medical field. My sleep schedule has always been nocturnal, so this feels more natural to me than working days and brings my stress down. My husband is gone 5 days out of the week as a truck driver and my days off are the same days he is home thanks to my seniority, and we are both night owls during this period. My mother-in-law recently passed away, so my father-in-law sold everything and moved to where we were and has been included in my family events. At Christmas, my brother pulled me aside to let me know that my father-in-law is telling anyone who will listen that I am lazy because I sleep all day. I work 12 to 24-hour shifts at my job during the days I am working. The only reason I get my days off to align with my husband is the seniority I have, and even then I often have to work when he is home. I have noticed that along with him calling me, I am starting to miss calls around 2 or 3 p.m. from family members who know I am home and are asking me to do things for them during the day. I am usually asleep by noon and have to be up for work around 8 or 9 p.m. I have sat these people down to explain that I am an overnight emergency worker and that I need my sleep. My husband sat my father-in-law down and explained to him what I do, how I need my sleep, and that he's being a jerk. My father-in-law maintains that a real job does not have overnights. Which, by the way, is probably the dumbest statement of the century. Anyway, I don't want to have to cut contact with him because we are the only family he has left. My husband stands behind me and says if I want to cut him out, even just to let him have a timeout, he is game. I also don't know how to address my whole family about this. My mom combats it as much as possible, but his way of thinking is starting to permeate them too. A user in the comments said, yeah, all of those overnight emergency room doctors and nurses, air traffic controllers, firefighters, paramedics and cops don't have real jobs and are just dicking around. Your father-in-law is an idiot. And guys, I would definitely agree with that because everyone who has ever done night shift knows that they suck, at least in my opinion. Or is there anyone in the audience who likes night shifts? Let us know in the comments. And the next one is an update to the I work overnight story. I dealt with my family members at a family gathering over the weekend. I saw my sister, one of my family members who had been texting me, and reminded her that I am asleep at 3 or 4 p.m. when she texts. If she texts me first thing in the morning, like when she leaves for work at 7, maybe I can do whatever favor she needs before I go to sleep. I told her that I would not be adjusting my schedule to do her favors. She seemed to understand. Over the weekend, my husband and I sat down with my father-in-law one last time to try to get him to understand that I am a medical professional, I work nights, and that my nights are as hard as working a day shift, oftentimes harder. I brought up my mother-in-law and reminded him how she called 911 at 2 a.m. when she had her first heart attack. I told him the person on the other end of that phone had a real job. The EMTs who came to take her to the hospital had real jobs. And the ER nurses and doctors that treated her had real jobs. I told him that yes, I could take a day shift, but I would be unhappy in the end because I'm just not wired to be awake during the day. Today is an exception because I'm on vacation and had a dentist appointment. Well, those who guessed that this was way more about my job were right. After the discussion, he point blank told me that my chosen hours were not conducive to having children when I reminded him that when his son and I got married 10 years ago, we both agreed that we were not having children, and he had some choice words. My husband kicked him out of our house and my family will stop inviting him to family gatherings. It is not the outcome I wanted, but hopefully he will come around. Wow guys, I gotta say, this couple is definitely not messing around and they are pretty strict. Would you have done the same in this situation to your father-in-law? Let us know in the comments. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.